Have you ever looked at someone, a complete stranger, and felt a connection so deep, so undeniable that it was almost scary? What if the person you were falling for wasn't who they said they were? And what if the secret they were keeping was big enough to change your life or shatter it completely? Meet Elara Reed. Elara lived in a tiny, one-bedroom apartment right off the historic Main Street in Astoria, Oregon. That beautiful, rain-drenched coastal town where the Pacific Ocean meets the Columbia River. Astoria is famous for its fog, its history, and its stubborn, independent spirit. At 32, Elara was the definition of grit and grace. She had soft, weary eyes that held the relentless love of a single mother and the quiet, persistent fear of bills she couldn't always pay. Her dream? To open a little bakery, one that smelled of cinnamon and hope, right there on Main Street. A place where the fog couldn't touch the warmth inside, but dreams cost money, and Elara's reality was a brutal juggling act. Her income came from a grueling double shift at the Pier 11 diner, followed by late nights doing freelance graphic design for clients she mostly found online, all to give her 6-year-old son, Leo, the stable, happy life she was always chasing. Leo was a whirlwind of energy, obsessed with paleontology and the old, weathered fishing boats down by the docks. The problem wasn't just the sheer exhaustion, it was the isolation. Every man she'd ever dated had run for the hills the second they met Leo. They didn't see the tiny spark of genius in his eyes or the surprising kindness in his heart. They saw baggage and responsibility and complexity. Elara had accepted it. The only man she needed was Leo. But lately, the pressure was crushing her. The diner was cutting hours, the freelance market was drying up, and her old Honda Civic was threatening to die right in the middle of the Astoria-Megler Bridge. She was alone, financially stretched thin, and slowly losing hope that anything good would ever happen just for her. It was a cold, miserable Tuesday night, raining buckets, a typical Astoria deluge when her life took its unexpected turn. Elara had ordered a cheap pizza for Leo and herself after her graphic design client ghosted her final payment. She felt defeated. The delivery guy arrived, absolutely soaked to the bone. His name was Kian. He was rugged, with kind, intense blue eyes, perpetually damp dark hair that curled at his neck, and a worn leather jacket that had seen better days. He looked maybe 34, roughly her age. He didn't carry the usual blank indifference of a delivery worker. He looked at Elara, saw her exhaustion and her worry, and just held her gaze. It was a look of instant recognition, not of a delivery guy and a customer, but of two people who understood what it meant to struggle. "Terrible night for deliveries," Elara mumbled, fumbling for wet cash. Kian shook his head, a wry smile touching his lips. "It's the best night. People need a little warmth delivered to their door when the world feels cold." He handed her the pizza and a small, perfectly folded paper crane. It was intricate, a tiny work of art. "This is for Leo. Tell him it's a warrior crane. It fights off bad days." Elara's breath hitched. No one, not a single person, had done anything so unexpectedly thoughtful for her or Leo in years. They started talking, just small talk about the weather and the local fishing fleet at first, then deeper. Kian didn't ask what she did for a living. He asked what she dreamed of. He didn't look at her apartment's worn furniture or the patched carpet. He looked at the hand-drawn sketches of her bakery on the wall, blueprints for her future. He even stayed for 20 minutes that night, laughing easily as Leo, instantly smitten with Kian's gentle demeanor, showed off his prized collection of dinosaur fossils. Kian listened to Leo with genuine interest. Kian was only a delivery guy, a simple man with a quiet kindness and not much to his name, but he felt like the first warm sun after a long, cold Astoria winter. He was present, he was genuine, and he was poor, just like her. They started spending time together, sharing dreams over cheap takeout, not caviar. Their poverty was a bond, a shared honesty. But then, one Saturday evening, Elara invited Kian to dinner. He was late, very late. When he finally arrived, he seemed pale, distracted, almost hyper-vigilant, constantly glancing out the window. As he took off his jacket, Elara noticed a flash of something hard and dark under his shirt. Not a simple wallet, but a piece of high-tech gear. Maybe a tactical earpiece. It didn't belong on a delivery guy. Before she could ask about it, a sleek, unmarked black sedan, the kind you only see driving around the corporate centers of New York or Los Angeles, sped down their tiny street, its polished surface reflecting the streetlight. It stopped right in front of her building. Two men in expensive, anonymous suits jumped out. their faces grim and serious, and looked directly at Kian's car, then up toward Elara's apartment. Kian froze. His blue eyes, usually so warm and welcoming, went cold, distant, and professional, a look Elara had never seen before. He looked at Elara, then at the menacing black car and whispered, not like a delivery guy, but like a man giving a final, urgent order. I have to go, Elara. Right now. Don't ask questions. Just know I'll be back. And please, never tell anyone you know me. He was out the door and gone before Elara could even move. He ran to his beat-up car, pulled out with impossible speed, and disappeared down the street, the black sedan following close behind. Elara was left standing alone in the doorway, the scent of rain and a dangerous, inexplicable fear filling the air. What had she gotten herself into? And who was Kian, really? Kian disappeared. Just like that. The black sedan was gone, the delivery job was posted for a new hire, and Main Street went back to its normal, rainy routine. For 3 long months, Elara's emotional world was in chaos. She felt humiliated, foolish for trusting so completely, and terrifyingly close to heartbroken. Her motherly instinct screamed, "Danger! You dodged a bullet!" But her heart whispered, "He's in trouble. He'll be back." She had to choose which voice to listen to, and her choice became her salvation. She threw herself into work, but with a new fire. Kian, the poor delivery guy, had unwittingly given her something priceless. The belief that she deserved happiness and that her dreams were worth fighting for. She decided she wouldn't wait for a man to save her. She'd save herself and Leo. Elara took the small amount of savings she had, just enough to buy flour, sugar, and a cheap canopy, and rented a tiny kiosk at the local Astoria farmers market to sell her baked goods on weekends. She called it Elara's Cinnamon and Hope. The name was a nod to her late-night conversations with Kian. The change was instantaneous. She was more exhausted than ever, yes, but her exhaustion was now fueled by purpose, not despair. Her cinnamon rolls were divine. Her scones were legendary. She vividly remembered Kian's smile when he talked about passion, and it drove her. One particularly successful Saturday, Elara sold out by noon. As she was packing up, slightly dizzy from the rush, an older, impeccably dressed woman with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes approached her stall. She wore a tailored suit and a look of deep contemplation. Her name was Ms. Evelyn Vance, a highly respected, retired business consultant who had recently moved to Astoria from Seattle, trading boardrooms for beach walks. "Young lady," Ms. Vance said, her voice crisp, cutting through the market noise, "these are the best blueberry scones I have ever tasted. You have a magnificent product, but your branding is a disaster. You're selling a fortune like a hobby." Elara, normally reserved, found herself pouring out her entire bakery dream. The Main Street storefront, the financial struggle, the fear of failure. Ms. Vance, surprisingly, listened without judgment. She didn't offer empty sympathy. She offered mentorship, cold, hard business advice, and a strategic mind. She saw the raw grit Elara had and the massive, untapped potential of a small-town brand ready to expand. Over the next 6 months, Elara's life transformed at lightning speed. With Ms. Vance's stern, brilliant guidance, she applied for and secured a small business loan. She finally leased the corner storefront on Main Street. She was opening her bakery, but Kian was always a silent, unaddressed presence. She would look out her new bakery window, which overlooked the street where he used to park his old, beat-up car, and wonder. She remembered the warmth of his hands, the intense blue of his eyes, and that strange, fleeting moment of darkness and fear when the black sedan arrived. She used to tell Ms. Vance about him, describing him simply as a kind, lost man she once knew. That kind of intensity. "Elara," Ms. Vance commented one day while reviewing the building permits, a knowing look in her eyes. "It comes from 2 places, deep, consuming love, or deep, entrenched control." 1 year after Kian disappeared, Elara's Cinnamon and Hope had its grand opening. It was everything she had dreamed of. Warm, busy, and full of the scent of cinnamon and hope. Leo, now 7, helped ring up customers and colored pictures for the waiting tables. Elara was finally successful, financially stable, and truly happily independent. She had healed. She was ready to put the mystery of the poor delivery guy and the black sedan behind her. Then, on a slow Tuesday afternoon, amidst the scent of fresh dough, a delivery was dropped off. Not a pizza, but a huge, intricately carved antique jewelry box made of dark, heavy wood. The delivery man was new. He only gave Elara a single sealed envelope before leaving without a word. The note inside was short, handwritten on impossibly expensive thick stationery that felt like silk. Elara, I'm back. I never left. You are everything you ever dreamed of, and more. P.S. The bakery looks perfect. Your cinnamon roll is still the only thing I can truly taste. Meet me at the pier tonight. Be alone. Bring the box. Elara's hand trembled. She looked at the signature, a chill running down her spine. The note wasn't just signed Kian. It was signed K. Thorne. Suddenly, Ms. Vance's face flashed in Elara's mind. Ms. Vance had once mentioned a secretive, old-money East Coast family that owned most of the regional shipping industry. The family name was Thorne. The same Thorne family that was constantly in the global news for corporate battles, hidden fortunes, and a rumored very dark past. Elara's heart pounded. She carefully opened the antique box. Inside, resting on faded red velvet, were 2 items: a silver key, a man's heavy, platinum signet ring engraved with a large T, and a stack of complex legal documents. Documents with a single, astonishing sentence highlighted in red. Full ownership and control of the entire Pacific Coast delivery and logistics network is hereby transferred to Elara Reed. Elara felt the blood drain from her face. The poor delivery guy wasn't just a billionaire. He had just given her the keys to his entire empire. She wasn't meeting a former delivery boy at the pier. She was meeting a powerful, dangerous man with a massive secret. And now she had his life in her hands. The Astoria pier was cold and impossibly foggy that night, the air thick with salt and mystery. Elara stood under a single weak streetlight, clutching the legal documents. A figure emerged from the dense fog, appearing suddenly like a ghost. It was Kian, but not the man she remembered. This Kian wore a suit tailored in Milan, and his presence radiated an almost physical aura of power and an immense, chilling burden. "You came," Kian said, his voice deeper, older, devoid of the easy laughter she remembered. Elara cut the distance between them, needing the truth immediately. "Who are you, Kian? And what is all this?" She thrust the documents at him, the paper crinkling in her grip. Kian didn't touch them. He stood perfectly still, a man accustomed to having entire rooms move around him. "My name is Kian Thorne. Was the majority shareholder of Thorne Global Logistics, the largest private shipping network in the world, headquartered in Seattle." He paused, his blue eyes meeting hers, full of regret. "And the dark past you read about? It's mine." He explained everything, his voice a low monotone that carried the weight of years of secrets. Kian wasn't poor, he was being hunted. His family was running illegal, nefarious operations using the company's vast shipping network. He had tried to stop them internally and failed. He had feigned being a poor, anonymous delivery guy in Astoria, a tiny, remote port town far from his enemies in Seattle and New York, to establish a new, untraceable identity and build a legitimate, honest cover. He was looking for an exit, a way to transfer his assets to a safe, trustworthy proxy before he confronted his powerful family and handed the evidence to federal authorities, the very confrontation that had pulled him away that rainy night. The sedan, Elara? That was my security team. I had to disappear to end it, to clean my life. I couldn't drag you and Leo into my war. My life was too dangerous. He stepped closer, the expensive leather of his shoes silent on the damp planks of the pier. But I never stopped watching you. I saw you struggle, then succeed. I saw you build your bakery, your independence. You're the most honest, pure person I have ever met. You are my only way out and my only truth. Elara felt a dizzying rush of emotions. Betrayal that he lied to her face for months, terror at the mention of a war and illegal operations, but overwhelmingly, a profound, crushing understanding of why he had been so guarded, why he had been so intensely focused on her simple, honest life. "You used me," she whispered, the cold words tasting like ash. "No," Kian insisted, taking a step forward. "I came to you for a cover, yes, to hide. But I stayed because you were the only place on this earth where I wasn't Kian Thorne, the ruthless CEO. I was just Kian, the man who loved cinnamon rolls and your son's dinosaur collection. I fell in love with you, Elara. That was never a lie." He looked at the documents in her hands. "I won. I defeated my family. The war is over. They're locked out and facing prosecution. The transfer is legal. I gave you the company because I don't want it anymore. I don't want the control, the darkness, or the burden of that name. I want the warmth of your bakery. I want you." Elara looked at the documents, the control over a vast empire. She had the power now. She could have wealth, security, and everything she had ever dreamed of without another day of struggle. But she didn't want the Thorne global logistics. She wanted the simple, honest life she had built. Elara smiled, a genuine, strong smile that reflected the owner of Cinnamon and Hope. She took the stack of company documents, held them up, and tore them straight down the middle with a decisive, ripping sound, the paper fluttering into the fog-filled air. Kian's eyes widened in profound shock. "The warrior crane works, Kian," Elara said softly, her voice filled with a new strength. "I fought off my bad days myself. I don't need your company. I don't need your money. I only need one thing." She stepped up to him, no longer the weary single mother, but a successful, independent woman in charge of her own destiny. "I need Kian, the man who saw my dreams, not my struggles, the man who makes paper cranes, the one with the kind eyes." Kian let out a choked laugh, a genuine, relieved sound that finally melted the CEO's armor. He took her hands, no longer as a delivery boy or a billionaire, but as just a man. He stayed in Astoria. He didn't work for the delivery network he had given away, which Elara promptly used her new legal power to liquidate and fund a philanthropic foundation for single mothers across the state. Instead, he helped Elara open her second bakery location right on the Portland waterfront. Kian, the former CEO, took classes in carpentry and built her custom shelves and counters. He still wore a worn leather jacket, but now it was a comfortable, broken-in uniform of a man finally at peace. They were a family built not on lies or wealth, but on honest, hard-won love and the unforgettable scent of cinnamon. Sometimes, the greatest gift a billionaire can give you isn't his money. It's the courage to realize you never needed it in the first place. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next powerful story.